right, so well-being. How are you, Lynn?
I am well. So yeah, I'm feeling really good actually, because going on a holiday in literally a week. So very exciting. But yeah, it feels like it's just been such a whirlwind the past 6 months. So now it feels like, okay, get a bit of a breaker and then come back and get stuck in stuff. But yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel good actually. Just had a day off, which is nice. So spending some time just relaxing, but also trying to get the things that sometimes pile up done, which is nice when you're ticking off your checklist and also being able to rest in between. So feeling good.
Mhm.
Um, in the same breath, a little few things going on, work like life things, but that again, it's also a life thing. So being able to kind of juggle that as well and kind of firefight a little bit, been doing that. But generally, I'd say I'm feeling good. Tired at times, but I think that's more owing to actually I've been in terms of just thinking about it, it's more owing to probably my diet and my exercise, which hasn't been as great as I'd like it to be. So one of the things that I'm actually trying to work on a bit more is eating food that kind of energizes me and gives me, and that's more and eating well and actually eating as well. To
Oh,
start with,
that's a good point.
actually eating. And not
I think
skipping
that's like
meals
your main purpose, to give you energy.
to give you energy, right? And using food as fuel and being smart about food. So I think I think it's another kind of exciting thing that I'm thinking about, like researching and looking into what are the good foods. How can I just improve my energy, my well-being? So still doing that and feeling good about that.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I just thought of which, by the way, guys, this episode's not structured at all. It's just a bit of a wellness check-in. We're just gonna have a chat and we're recording it. So I hope it's valuable to you. But Grace, you just mentioned in terms of like food and researching good foods and foods that actually give you energy. And I feel like that's a big one in terms of well-being, because they are foods that can leave you a bit more tired, or foods that don't help with kind of the current situation. And then there's foods that give you a bit more energy. So maybe if you can share a little bit about what you found, if you don't mind.
Definitely. Maybe we can do an episode next season
Yeah,
about food. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
an
actually a thing.
expert, a nutritionist.
Exactly. And it's a thing, like, I mean, I remember reading a statement which said, food is the fuel for us or something, or food is fuel. And it's effectively that. It's not just about tasting good, but actually food that actually energizes us and helps us to be balanced. So yeah, definitely we'll do some research, share that with everyone once we've tried and tested it as well. So
Yeah, maybe we can do little experiments as well and then share our findings.
exactly. Do you have any recommendations? Because I know you already kind of look after your diet. You're meat free at the moment, aren't you? So tell me about that. How's that going?
Yeah, so actually it started at the start of January. It was meant to be just a bit of everyone, like dry January, no meat, no carbs, that sort of thing, just to reset after the holiday season. So I usually do it every year. And this year, when it came to February, I was like, I don't think I want to go back to meat. Just because I just felt like it's nice to not have it in my diet. There's so many things that are available as substitutes as well. So I just kept on going, and now it's been like 6 months or a little bit more now.
Wow.
Yeah, and I can't believe it because of all the barbecues as well. Like, am I really not eating meat? Chicken and chakalaka.
Chakalaka. Oh wow. Took it all the way to South Africa.
Yeah, I know. You want that chakalaka sausage.
Honestly.
But I found it as, I think it's twofold. One, the mental aspect of I can, if I don't want to have something, because I've done no alcohol for like 4 months at some stage as well. So the mental aspect of I'm in control of what my body takes in, that's nice to know that I can do that. And then also the dietary kind of healthy side of things, I think, because with exercising, and then I'm looking at healthy alternatives as well, rather than having just junk food. So I'm eating healthier. And I think it definitely has made a certain weight loss a bit easier than normal. But yeah, it's still, the experiment is still going, and I would recommend it for people if they just want a bit of a break. Give your gut a minute to just kind of figure itself out.
How did you start? I guess it was the beginning of the year when you were kind of tempted. What were you doing to kind of like
to curve it? So then I'd research. There's some people on YouTube, really good resources. I'll research alternatives. So you can make cauliflower chicken wings, and it definitely does taste, because it's like you're putting the marinade, but actually you're just having, I know it's cauliflower, that's not that exciting, but honestly, there's alternatives out there that can make it a bit more exciting. I think there was another time when I really nearly like, I think it was to do with chicken. So then instead I just went and bought the protein soy-based type chicken. So there are more alternatives now, which makes it
quite nice actually, aren't they? Like some of these corn chicken dippers, like those are good, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, like just get them anyway. Yeah.
Cool. Maybe I'll try that as well, because I'm still in the research bit, trying to see what's good and what's not. So maybe I'll try the meat free. I do like a good steak, I'm not gonna lie.
And it doesn't have to be permanent. I think that's maybe at some stage I'm going to decide it's like maybe just one day a week, just have your meat. Or if you go out for dinner, then have your steak. But the rest of the time you still kind of maybe staying away. There's balances and there's but yeah, I found that it's been good.
Thanks for that. I'll note that for sure, because I think sometimes meat can make us feel a bit more tired, but definitely we'll try it. I
did have a question for you. So we both, because in the episode that's just dropped, hopefully people would have watched that by now, but we were talking about our side hustles and then talking about juggling as well. And then it's now been, maybe for me, it's been one full month since I finished the Vantage program, since that's all wrapped up. I think it's maybe a few weeks for you since you've wrapped up the Nova program that you were on, because that was like a weekly commitment that we had to kind of take time out, as well as full-time job, as well as actually action things for the business. And we've got this podcast as well, which is its own full-time thing, actually. Don't sleep on these people that have YouTube channels. How are you feeling post that period? But I know there's stuff happening even now, but have you done any kind of retrospect over that particular period, especially with the program?
Yeah, actually, it's been quite good to, I guess, be out of the program, because then I can look back at what I've learned and what I've been able to start implementing. And definitely a lot of the things I've started thinking about, and I saw one thing that was really good about being on the program was seeing where my strengths were, in terms of what I was doing well already and what I needed to work on. And getting feedback from the program as well, and being advised on these are the areas that you kind of need to strengthen a little bit and that you could work on a little bit, was quite helpful. And for me, it was a lot to do with traction and kind of user engagement and being able to speak to the right people, in terms of understanding what are the problems that are there first and foremost, what are the problems and how can Emplo solve them. So that's been really helpful. And I was actually invited to return to one of their Yeah, well, it was to return to one of their, what is it called? One of their sessions, just because that was one of the sessions that focused on particularly user engagement and kind of user, market
Journey
research.
and things like that. Okay.
Yeah, so it was really good to go and kind of just revisit that, speak to people. I've kept in touch with some of the people on the program, which has been quite good, who are also still in that process. Some people carried on with the process because they were able to pitch and go forward. So just hearing what their journey is like and kind of learning from them is quite good, actually, just being able to kind of just talk to people and see where the different stages of our journey and just encouraging each other. In
Yeah.
terms of reflection, I guess it's looking at those things which were strengths and being able to build upon the strengths, and then looking at the things that needed to be improved, which were weaknesses at the time, but being able to strengthen them and work on them and just be able to say, okay, so this is plan A, B, C, D, this is what I need to work on. And just for me as a person, I do reflect a lot generally, and I think for me it's thinking what's my why and revisiting that quite regularly, and then also thinking about because if I understand my why, where am I trying to go with Empilo? What's Empilo trying to solve? Am I working towards Empilo solving the problem, or is it not solving a problem and it's just an idea, and not being too attached to an idea, but rather being engaged with trying to resolve a problem, and not saying, okay, this is an idea, I'm going to make it work, and just being able to be open and flexible with that.
Right.
And working towards a goal as well, which is something I generally tend to enjoy doing. Like it drives me more when I can see a target and I can see a time scale and I can say, this is where I'm heading. So I've been able to actually set some more kind of rigid time scales, which work for me and my kind of personality type, and also be able to, with those time scales, be able to kind of work on the tangible goals that I can work and reach. So yeah, that's been really good. It's been a really good process, and I think it's been uplifting in many ways and challenging as well.
Yeah, that's good. Sorry, just to add that, yeah, that's really good that you then got something that you can literally, that's tangible, that you can go away with. And it wasn't just because it took a long time, it took a lot of your energy and you got something from it. So that's really great. And I think for myself, something similar. So I think with starting with Spritz in 2020, it was just like, I'm just gonna start it. I think I need to research it, think about it, and then I'll do it. I'm right, this is a great idea, I'm gonna just do it type of person, and then research it and figure it out as we go. So with the personality that I have, I think it meant that quite a lot of the finer details weren't quite ironed out. And then in 2021, quite a lot of things were happening. I'm doing loads of talks, which is great, putting out the planner, which is great, but I didn't have like a concrete strategy yet. And then joining the program meant that I could just write down what is the plan, and then also things like customer segmentation, because I hadn't quite ironed out who exactly am I targeting. So I've been working on that, and then now putting stuff out, knowing who my end audience is, while still working on some things in the background. So I feel like it definitely has been really beneficial. And then also I've gained a few friends, which is great. And met a lot of really great people through it, which is fantastic. But yeah, I feel like I couldn't even probably have this conversation mid-June, because there's still just so much going on in my head, and I'd written down maybe 10 pages of notes on my Google Notes. So I was like, I had to go through them all just to see what makes sense and what I could implement. But it did feel really intense at the time. But now it feels like, okay, there's loads of stuff that I can say I've ticked off from it, which is really good.
Yeah, so you're seeing the progress and you're able to kind of take it in and be able to also think about the next steps from what I'm hearing. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's a journey, isn't it? And I think we've started using this statement because it genuinely is a journey. I think there's so many ups and downs, and you always hear this when you listen to podcasts about, entrepreneurial journeys. Like for me, like when we were saying, I think there was a point where I think, say, we pitched and we didn't get through, or that
Yeah.
point felt like a low point, or being able to, like, something just going not the way we'd like it to go, or not progressing onto a second stage or something like that. It can easily kind of demotivate you as a person, because naturally life is highs and lows, but remembering that actually it's a journey, and being able to sail through those ups and downs and just embrace every moment, because everything has a purpose, I believe, and even the things that don't go well, even the failures, because we have to embrace and accept that if something, we fail at things and then we win at some things, and we, succeed at some things, but even when we don't succeed in something, it's still a lesson, and it's still a growth point, and something that we can then reflect on and say, I've learned something and I've grown as a person, and whether it's resilience, that kind of thing. And I think that's another, looking back, built resilience, and being able to just keep pushing forward and remembering why.
Remember your why. That's such a good point, because there was a point where I started to feel, so we did the episode on imposter syndrome. Funny enough, there was a point where I genuinely felt like, what am I trying to do? Does anyone care about what I'm trying to, or am I helping anyone? As you were saying, like, is there a problem, and am I actually solving the problem? So I think I was asking myself that, like, where is this all going? Because I think it felt like there's just so much that I'm pushing out there, and it didn't feel like I was getting anything back at the time. It didn't feel like I'm increasing the amount of customers that I had at the time. Actually, now I've got a couple more people that have onboarded, which is fantastic. But at the time, I was like, oh, this is taking so much of my time. But what's the point? There is. So you're right in terms of, like, just always having a bit of reflection time, especially when it gets a bit busy. Just book that day off. I think I should have done that. Just book that day off and just have some time to just kind of think about what you're trying to achieve. If it starts to get a bit like, I've got fatigue, what are you trying to achieve, and how can you do it easier? And another thing that I learned is that you don't have to be, because if you're an entrepreneur, you've got a startup, not everyone is, I get it, but a lot of people can take this advice though. You don't have to do everything yourself. So there was one person that did a talk about market research, and they did a really good talk, and they gave us all these tools, and I was going to go away and use them up. I'm not a researcher. I know, Grace, you're a great researcher, actually. I'm always like saying that I'm really impressed, but I really can't sit there and then comb through loads of information. So I thought, okay, why don't I just reach out to this person and ask them if they can write up a report for me? I did. They wrote up a great report. I'm using quite a lot of the data that they found in my pitch decks, in my kind of just documents as well. So sometimes you don't have to do everything. Find the person that has the strength, the skill that maybe you lack, or if you don't have the time, then just find someone that can provide it. I think that was one of the other lessons as well, because I started to think that I can do it all I have to do is wake up at 4 and start doing it. It's like, no, actually, sometimes just outsource it, and then it will save you a lot more time to then do other things. So
absolutely agree with that. So true, and we can't be experts in everything.
No, my God. Not everything. Yeah. That's why businesses, companies have to hire, people with loads of different skill sets, because then they all kind of make one holistic whole that then it works out. So I think that's something to remember, especially for anyone who has a startup.
Yeah, so true. So true. And just thinking about I guess, we talked about kind of the well-being side of it, and we're thinking, you know, just thinking about in those moments when we, you know, when we do feel demotivated, like what do you do for yourself to get yourself a bit more motivated? I know you said taking time off and just kind of recouping. Is there anything else you find helpful? Or
Yeah. So I think one of the things was not, so there's taking time out and then thinking about it, writing stuff down, maybe go for a walk, but still what's on your mind is the task at hand. There's that, or actually just stop. So I think it was a time when I can remember we just organized some dinner with a few friends. And it came at a time when I literally had a list full of things that I had to do. And I was like, no, Saturday night, I should just do it. So then it helps me to stop thinking about it, but I couldn't do it. So I was like, oh no, there's a dinner. Let's just go out, talk to people, think about something else. And then the next day, I'll probably be able to do that piece of work rather than just focusing on that problem, whatever that task was. So I think that really helped at that time for me to just go out, think about something else, have a good time, and then get back on it, because we need breaks. We definitely do. So yeah, in terms of well-being, I think that's the bit that helped outside of the things that I tried to do normally. But I don't think that was working as well, actually. It just came to a time where it's like, have an actual day off, but a day off to go have fun. And then
no, that's true. I agree. Definitely agree with that. I think, yeah, definitely. I think it's needed, isn't it? Just being able to step away, even if it's a few hours, just step away and do something that kind of, even if it's in the back of your mind, just distracting yourself in some other way and spending time with, you know, other people, being re-energized in some way. So yeah, absolutely,
definitely works. And then we were kind of like thinking, okay, so let's say, because we've just done like a really good check-in in terms of notice that, you know, someone's not quite on form, maybe, because actually I was just saying that it took me so long to edit the last video, and it was more of a mental blocker where I just, you know, couldn't find the time, or maybe just the energy, I don't know. So sometimes you can notice that someone's not quite, you know, themselves. How would you check in with family or friends? Is there a way that people can approach a certain subject and do a quick check-in? How would you frame it?
Good question as well, because I think generally people are busy and people do experience things, and sometimes people don't always feel comfortable talking about it. So that's really important. Checking in, I think, as simple as it sounds, it's just maybe depends on proximity where you are, but it could be visiting somebody, calling them, setting time aside to really like engage with them, and simply asking them the question, are you okay? Seeing how they are. Well, you can ask whichever way you find easier, or whichever way you normally communicate with that person. If it's, you know, one of your, like for guys, if it's one of your bros, my guy, you okay? Or if it's the girls, like, hey girl, you okay? Like, just simple. It doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be, you know, a real like, oh my gosh, we have to sit down and talk right now. It can be generalized as a general conversation. But also I know sometimes people generally, our first instinct is to say, yeah, I'm good, how are you? Or I'm fine, how are you? So I know there was is it Ask Twice campaign? I don't know if you've heard of that, by Time to Change.
Okay.
And basically they say, I can't remember the history and the background, but it's effectively saying, if you are really concerned about someone, ask twice, because majority of the time, I think there's some stats to back this, but people will say yes, because that's become a social norm, especially in the Western culture. It's more polite to say, yeah, I'm fine, how are you? Or it's just how conversation goes. So it's about asking twice, because more likely the second time someone will actually process the question differently to the first time. So are you okay? Pause, and then ask them again, are you okay? And then without being patronizing, without being, but just asking again, and then more likely they're going to process the second time and might be more likely to open up if they're not, or might answer differently. So that's one way that I would definitely recommend. What about, what would you recommend
so in terms of making sure that you do a check-in, I think it's literally as you said, and actually asking is a good one, right? calling up whoever it is, or organizing just whatever informal way to then ask the question in an informal way. I think I like the Ask Twice campaign. That's a good one, and I'll keep that in mind. But I think, usually it's like try to just start a conversation. In general, I like to break the ice, that typical one that's like, let's talk about a lot of stuff, make sure someone feels really comfortable, and then check in and see if they're all right. It's most likely I won't ask the direct, are you okay? If I really want to know if they're okay, it would probably be if I know that someone's been dealing with something, or like work has been stressful, for example, because they've said, or then ask, how is work going? And then they might say it's okay. Oh, okay, well, you were working on this project, well, how's that going? As you said, so maybe ask different questions and probe just a little bit, just to get to it. And you're right, literally it's probably 3 questions in, then you get into, oh, okay, this is what's really going on with that person. I had a friend where I had to go to their house because I was like, they've just been acting so funny for months. And I knew it's not like a funny between us, it's more like something's going on in their lives, but I had no idea what. It was until I went to their house, it literally took loads of questions, different types of questions, in a nice, not probing way. And then it got to whatever was going on at that time. So it helps to just kind of probe a little bit in a caring way. But that's probably my tactic, without giving it away to people. Now they know.
So anytime Lynn turns up, I'm
just at your door.
But it's true, because sometimes what you see in person, or what you see when you're talking to somebody face to face, can sometimes be different to how they can be on the phone. And even just in kind of mental health care, we always say when we're assessing people, it's important to have a physical assessment. So we also assess appearance, behavior, affect, when somebody's talking, are they reactive or are they completely flat in their affect? You pick up on those cues, whereas on the phone you sometimes don't really get that. So I think it's a good idea that if you are really feeling that something's not good, to actually make that time to go and see someone and just be with them as well. Just be with them. And I think sometimes we feel like we generally have to solve a problem, or we have to come up with a solution, which doesn't always have to be the case. I think sometimes it's just about validating people and being able to say, that must be really tough, or I can imagine that's really tough, or you know what, that I don't know how you're feeling, but I can imagine that this is really painful for you. And just not having to say, okay, so what we're going to do is this, or being overly positive as well sometimes, which can be invalidating, because it's almost sometimes saying, oh no, but you'll be fine, everything will be fine, just be positive, just think about it. It's not always, it's about listening and also saying, that's tough, because sometimes people just need to hear that what they're feeling is valid. Valid, and then being able to help them and think about that. But in that moment, sometimes we just need I get you.
Someone that's just listening, and someone that's, it's something that I always think about, like people just want to feel seen and heard, and do you care? That's it. And then once it's off their chest, then they're actually okay, and they could probably find the solution themselves. They didn't need anyone to point it out, and maybe they got to it in that conversation as well. Most times people will get to that. So
True.
Yeah.
So what's been great? We've come to basically the end of season 1.
Yes, we did it. We actually started it, put a few episodes out there. Really excited about more that's to come. But yeah, yeah, yes.
Yeah, we have, and it's, it's good. I've enjoyed it. I think
I'm glad.
literally enjoy just coming, driving up, doing a podcast, recording, and just talking. I think we get carried away sometimes.
Yeah, we do. It's like 2 hours after you've come round and we've just been talking, and it's like, oh yeah, we should probably do that.
Yeah. What have you enjoyed about kind of doing the podcast and starting this journey?
I think yeah. So aside from literally just kind of getting to know you more and also just doing this together, because I love collaborating with people and working with other people, it just makes everything kind of a bit easier. But in terms of like what I've literally learned, it's been really good just kind of getting into the subjects that we've gone into, some that were so appropriate for that time, like stress awareness. I mean, we've just been talking about all the stuff that we've been juggling. I mean, I just feel like juggling quite a lot could add to stress, and it was just so timely to then have certain discussions, because then the few days after that I was thinking, oh, what can I do? No, okay, I can't just be preaching stuff, I can't just say stuff, I need to implement it into my life to make sure that I'm learning from these conversations. And yeah, loneliness as well was a good one, and having our guest speaker A Poetry is really good. Oh, A the Poet, sorry, we need to stick to A the Poet. That was really nice. But I think it's more the stuff that we learned, and collaborating with you as well has been really good. So I think that's my key takeaways. But I'm now so excited and hungry to do more. I think the only thing standing in our way is probably just time.
Time, the value commodity.
Yes, honestly, we can't even buy it, I don't think. But what was
And I guess for me, it was similar to you, literally like being able to get to know you more, kind of like planning the podcast with you, saying, oh, we should talk about this because, we think this is important and why we want to talk about it. And in that process, learning more about each other, and also researching, which I love to do. So it's a process of learning. When we do think about podcasts, we also need to know, when we kind of deliver some facts and we share some facts, we think that's also important. We said that's something we wanted to be able to do. Yeah. Of course, we want the podcast to be about our kind of experiences and opinions, but we think it's important to share some valuable insights. So that part of things, learning as I go. And just, again, learning more about myself and coming out of my shell. I'm not usually one to be in front of a camera. And I think it took, a bit of convincing from you.
Yeah, like you can do it.
Because I was kind of like, oh, but I think when we came up with it, like, when we thought about the podcast and we said, okay, we're going to do it. And, you suggested, I think it was that point where I was like, you know what, it's good to challenge ourselves and to and I think I'm starting to channel it and enjoy speaking and being, because I do enjoy speaking and talking, but in front of a camera it's different, so I'm enjoying that element as well and just learning as I go and engaging people. So
I mean, you're a natural, so there we go, you're blocking yourself from a talent that you have. And you're right.
No, I'm joking.
Like the prep, actually, we discussed this months ago, started having kind of regular catch-ups way before we were like, okay, now it's time to record, and all of that really helped it to go smoothly. And those are the things that you probably don't see, when we're watching a YouTuber do whatever, or whatever that, or a podcast, listening to one, the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes. I think it's helped me really appreciate people's craft. I really do, because like a lot of work goes into it. And then the prep that we were doing, that was fun as well. Those were conversations that we were just having, talking about what we're going to talk about, and that was fun. So yeah, it's been a good months.
Exactly, it's been a good ride, and you know, I think I'm excited for season 2 and like recording again. I think definitely got a few things lined up, a few conversations with some interesting people. So I think that's something to really look forward to, and that learning process again, learning from other people and engaging with people, connecting with more people as we go. Definitely excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also gonna add for people that are watching, if fair enough, if you don't want to put it in the comments, we are gonna add the email address again, or you can DM us, but we'd really like to know what you want to talk about or what you want to hear. We, as you heard, we like to research and then discuss it, so it'd be good to just understand the topics that are on people's minds. So please reach out and share this as well. Share it with your loved ones, share it with your colleagues. I think we've had some really good kind of facts that we have thrown in there. We've got great advice that even I went away and I felt like, oh, I learned something there, and then I'm implementing it into my life as well. So there's a really good stuff. So it would be good just to get some interaction, and don't forget to subscribe because this is on YouTube. So
like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Yes, definitely. No, it's been a good run, and I've enjoyed this process. Thank you for riding this journey with me, and you know, for the growth and the learning and the fun.
And the fun. Purpose, passion, play. So yeah, we've wrapped up season 1, and for season 2, what do we have in store, Grace?
We've got a few exciting topics. So we are going to talk a bit about men's health, and we're hopefully going to have an exciting guest on our podcast for that, on Nurturing Wellness. And we're also going to talk about women's health as a separate topic as well. Suicide prevention and suicide, dealing with suicide. And then also talking a little bit about a motivational talk as well, and kind of bringing on somebody to talk to us a little bit about just how to stay motivated and how to have a wholesome life in terms of getting started on your journey, kind of all things spiritual, health, well-being, family, fun, money, and finances. So all of that kind of stuff, exciting stuff to come. And really excited for it. I'm going to start recording soon, and it will drop towards end of summer or around September, October time. So definitely keep an eye out when it drops.
Thank you. So yeah, that's us like wrapping this up, but looking forward to our next one.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.